Welcome back to Next Stage Podcast, everyone. We got Jakey Heartbreak in the studio.
Thank you.
If you want to check out his origin story, he's been on before. About a year and a half ago in December, came back. We did a little Christmas episode, actually. So if you want to hear the full backstory behind the man, the myth, the legend that's sitting here.
It's gripping. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, well, it comes highly recommended. It's the only way to get it. So yeah, you did some live performance here. And this is our first time doing live performance in this new studio space, which was really exciting. It was awesome. And one thing that I right off the bat noticed about your performance is intensity. You've got a lot of intensity when you perform, and something with your like the lyrical content has like these edges of darkness in it, but when you put it across, it seems like triumphant, sort of like overcoming some of those heavy, dark themes that are in there. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, but like, is that in your mind when you're writing and playing?
I mean, I guess I'm not intentionally making it triumphant over the darkness. I guess that's kind of what's happening when I'm writing the songs, because I try to like write about, I guess, not be afraid to write about my darkness or whatever it is that I'm dealing with. So I guess sometimes I am purposely trying to like have a message in there of, you know, overcoming it. It's definitely like a theme in my life. So I guess it makes sense that it's a theme in my music. I'm glad that it's coming across that way.
Yeah, it just seems that way. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like when you're performing, if you're like intentionally putting that out there, or it's just that's where the well you're drawing from.
Yeah, I guess if the lyrical intention is there, then yes. But otherwise, I guess that's just I'm just putting across how it feels while I'm playing it.
Yeah. Do you usually like start with an intention or an idea, or is it like a lyric that starts it? I mean, I know everyone asks the same kind of question.
Yeah, it's different every time. Usually it's more recently it's been like just a line or a chorus or something will just kind of pop into my head while I'm doing something else, and then I kind of try to like think of a one line that kind of encompasses like what I'm feeling, and I kind of like try to make a habit of that whenever I'm dealing with things or going through a difficult situation. I think to myself, like, how can I sum this up in like one sentence? And then I try to take that and apply it and, you know, grow it into a song. So that's usually more recently how it's been. And from time to time, I'll still like noodle with my guitar and just kind of like start making stuff up. And sometimes you surprise yourself and stuff starts just coming out.
Yeah.
So that's, like, those two ways probably are usually how it happens. But it depends if it's an emotional song. Sometimes it's just a fun song and you're not really trying to dig too deep into your emotions. So
Yeah. As far as like the ones that you played,
Yeah.
Was there like a choice behind why you wanted to use those particular songs? I mean, I guess you can say like the names or whatever if you want, but like, was there like a reason you chose those ones to do acoustic, just because they work that way, or they felt like the right thing at the time?
they're kind of the most recent songs that I guess I had been working on, that I was kind of most excited about, that I felt like translated acoustically. So I just wanted to, you know, play the newer stuff that I'd been working on.
Yeah.
And I tried to figure out, you know, at least one of them is like probably going to be an acoustic song. The other ones are full band. So it was, you know, fun trying to make them acoustic and see how it comes across.
Yeah, you work them out that way first, right? That you write acoustically usually.
Yeah, and then I demo it. But some of them I kind of like, I started demoing it and I was writing it to be a full band, maybe with electric guitar, heavier song. And then like when I started being like, well, if I'm gonna play this acoustic, like how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna pull this song off as an acoustic? Then I have to, as an acoustic song, and then I have to kind of like deconstruct the song and play around with it so that it works.
Right. Does it like matter when you're writing if you're thinking about it as a band song or an acoustic song, or does the song kind of like inform that as you're writing it?
It kind of depends on how it comes into my head. Like usually when the song it usually comes into my head as like I can almost like hear the full song as like a production while I'm like when I first start thinking about it, and as I'm writing the parts I'm imagining what everything would be doing. So then that song is like I will kind of try to go straight to demoing it so I can like get all the ideas for all the different parts out. Some songs they are just it is just a melody and I'm not hearing like the music. So then I'm kind of like working it with the acoustic guitar to kind of like figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I imagine in this like whole quarantine situation, you've had a lot more time to like sit with your music.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you wrote any of these during that time or maybe refine them, but like, what has the
Yeah.
quarantine period like done for you? Or, what has that been like as a musician trying to deal with the fact that you can't play as a live band?
I mean, it's not being able to play live definitely is like a big piece of the pie is taken away. So it's a bummer for that reason, but I've also been really wanting lots of time to myself to like kind of just dig in and see what songs are in there and have plenty of time and space to like just see how many songs I can get out and like what's kind of been brewing inside of me. So um I've definitely been embracing and enjoying it. And it sucks to not be able to play live, but I know that's gonna come back, and I kind of like this little incubation period so that I can kind of like reflect, write more songs, record more stuff, whatever, and then when it's okay to do so again, like kind of come back full force, and that kind of excites me. So as much as I would love to go out and play live, I am enjoying like this time to myself to focus on myself and my music.
Yeah, so that like dynamic between something being lost, the live performance, and
Yeah.
something potentially being gained. What do you think, like overall for music and musicians? Is it going to be like a net positive thing? Is it going to change the game? Like, what does this do? What does this mean for musicians?
I think for a lot of musicians, this is a like most of the people that I talk to see this as like it's a positive time for them personally in terms of them being able to like embrace their art and dig into it. Obviously, it's not a good time like globally. Um, I think as long as the venues are able to stay alive and reopen once this is over with, I could see it being a good thing because everyone's gotten a chance to write, maybe record, work on their stuff, practice, all of that. And then when all the venues open again, it's like everyone's gonna want to get out. People are gonna leave the house. Like everyone's gonna be very much like wanting to go and hopefully see shows, and they missed it while this was all closed down. So I could see like the reopening of restrictions being a positive thing for music, in that way. Like as long as the venues don't all like go under because of all this time of not being able to make any kind of income.
Yeah, like there could be a renewed intensity,
Totally.
both from the artist dying to perform and
Right.
the crowd like dying to see live music.
Right.
Again.
I can see that both those energies, exploding together in a great way in terms of live performance. So it could be, definitely see it that way.
Yeah, and you have obviously been out in LA for about 7 years.
Probably 7.5. It's going on 8.
So you know the whole scene out there. You got a lot of friends out there, and like you said, you've been talking to people. Like, what are they going through and like seeing happening there? Like, how are people that are still there, kind of experiencing this, drastic change?
I mean, I think the people who are still there are struggling because like LA is an expensive place to be, and the reason why they're all there is for like the venues and the social life and the nightlife and all of that stuff is like it's a beautiful landscape, but they're all there to play music. So I think it just kind of sucks, unfortunately, for everybody who's stuck there and can't like utilize all of the resources that they're there for. I think most of the people I talk to, they're all still like pretty diligently working and writing. So like again, I think artists everywhere are gonna be, no matter what the location, we're all quarantined, we're all stuck inside and can't go out in public, or to the full extent that we want to. So um I think everywhere all the artists are gonna be writing and trying to do what they can.
Yeah.
And hoping that this ends soon so they can get out and play again.
Do you know of, like, as you said, venues struggling or possibly going under? Has that happened? Do you know of any that like got
I
hit hard by this?
I think they all are. I've definitely seen when this first kind of started, all of the Sunset Strip venues were kind of like starting little campaigns and stuff. People were starting things for them, like trying to raise money for like Viper Room and for Whiskey A Go Go and Troubadour, and like some of these legendary venues that they they, in order to keep their doors open, rely heavily, and we're already kind of struggling as it is to keep their doors open. So it's like they were already kind of having a tough time, and this just made it a lot worse. So I don't know how much money they were able to raise. I hope that they were able to enough to that once this is over, they can just like pick right back up. I'm not sure. I think a couple of them were already like on the verge of going under.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what's going to happen once it all resumes again. But I hope none of them go, because a lot of them, they've already lost a bunch of venues, and the ones that are left are kind of like the key ones, like the ones that are the most historical and like have the most like legend around them, and it would really be a shame to like lose those iconic LA venues.
Yeah, I wonder with in that situation, as with many things that are affected by this all, if like there can be like failure, quote unquote, or like burn it to the ground, but then something else new gets built up. Maybe like a new way of running it or something might come out of this, to where it could be sustainable, or diversifying beyond just relying on like one aspect of only doing live shows. Maybe diversifying in some way. I don't know.
That would be cool.
Opportunity. Maybe
it would be cool if some new venues popped up that were maybe doing something different. Like I would 100% be behind that. I would still hate to see the iconic ones go.
Oh yeah.
But the sad thing is, and I know that some of them were already being threatened by like hotels and parking garages and apartment complexes. So it's like that's what sucks is that like that's what they're going up against, not going up against other new venues.
Right. So there's different economic forces that were already putting the squeeze on.
Right.
That this just kind of like snuffed it out.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
I guess everything comes in cycles, like that's been like the Mecca for so long, and maybe someplace new will be like the new spot, because people are always going to want to play.
Totally.
People are always going to want to go out to see music, and like that's been the home for it. There's a few places. You got New York, you got LA, you've got Atlanta, you've got Nashville. But it's like you wonder if maybe like sometimes the things run its course. You said some people are kind of jaded. Oh, it's not as good as it used to be back in the day of the Sunset Strip, and like maybe it was kind of like wearing off anyway. Yeah,
and it would be nice for artists to have a place that they could go that had a booming music scene that was like more affordable. Which I know is like a big struggle for everybody out there. It's like there's all this awesome music going on in LA, but it's also like one of the most expensive cities to live in.
So for movie stars and celebrities and all these people live, like, so of course you're going to be fighting against a very like unfair balance in the social economics that's going on.
Totally, which is why it's such an interesting place to be. But still, I agree with you, but I still love the Viper Room, and I don't want to see it go.
Oh, no, absolutely not. There's so much history and all of that stuff. But you just wonder when things like this, these paradigm shifts happen, like maybe the old way of doing things might get challenged.
I mean, that's kind of like, I feel like the case for everything right now. So I guess why should music be any different, or live music?
Yeah. What do you think what's the reason people go to see live music, and like what is the thing that could survive through this and still be there at the end?
I mean, I guess live music is something that is an experience that you can only get by being there. So And I think everyone's kind of realizing that by seeing all of these live streams and stuff, like their favorite artists, they're watching them play through their iPhone. And it's like, this is cool. I'm glad they're doing something so that I have like can be entertained while I'm in quarantine. But like, God damn, I want to go to a concert, you know? And I think everyone's missing that. At least, you know, music fans, people who are enthusiastic and love music, they want to like you when you're in that article Dave Grohl wrote, like hit it, like
which one
said it. He wrote this whole article about like when concerts resume, and he like describes what the live music experience is like and why it's so necessary, why it's important. And, you know, the connection that you get from being like in a crowd with a bunch of other people who are all there, like sharing in the celebration and the joy of, you know, the band that's playing. And you're also seeing the person there standing there in front of you on the stage who made the music. Like,
unless it's a hologram.
Yeah, unless it's a hologram. But, you know, there is something about that that's like, hey, like, and I still think that to this day when I go to see one of my favorite bands, I'm like, that's the guy. He's standing right there. Like, he's sacred. He's here. You know? It's like, holy crap. Like, they're actually they're standing down there doing the thing. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and if they do this, it all stops.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And there is definitely, I don't know if it's like scientifically proven or whatever, but I've heard a lot about it, that there's some emotional bonding that happens with people when you sing together.
Oh,
like, so if a crowd of people are all singing together a song that, you know, it's like there's some sense of like human community and bonding that just happens there, like intangible, like magic.
Totally.
You know,
I mean, I've been to many shows where there's some person I don't know next to me. Next thing I know, I have my arm around them and we're belting out whatever the song is, you know, and you never even talk to the person. You know what I mean? You're just like, in an unspoken way.
Like lock eyes, like, we're doing this.
Right. But it's like, it's not like you're like, hey, let's sing the song together. You're not prefacing anything. You're not like talking to them after most of the time. You don't like talk to them afterwards and be like, hey, we should hang out. You know, it's just like, hey, you're next to me.
Yeah, you like what I like.
Right. And you both are just enjoying that moment.
Trying to show off who knows the lyrics more.
Yeah.
You're like, saying, no, it's this lyric.
I can always take comfort in knowing that I will definitely be the louder one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you definitely proved that. That's what I was saying, the intensity that comes across. And like, when you're playing and performing, do you feel like you're reaching for that, like reaching to get to people? It seems like that. Like, it seems like you're like, there's an energy that's coming out of you that's like trying to grab, you know, people in.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, where I'm at in my life kind of helped like determine some of that. So like, you know, even playing these songs tonight, like, I haven't really performed in a while, so it was like there's a lot of pent up energy that was like, you know, it's one of those things where it kind of starts, you kind of just like it starts to take over, and like it's like flying out. And I wonder sometimes, I'm like, oh man, like am I like going too overboard here? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even like I'm not trying to do that. It's just happening. It feels like, you know,
you're trying to like restrain it, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe I should like bring this down a little bit during this part of the song or whatever. But it's like, it's kind of it feels good to not hold back and just like let it go. And, you know, it's like I'm getting stuff out, you know, I'm releasing energy that's pent up inside of me, or emotions or whatever. And so I like always go into performances with the intention of being like, oh, I'm gonna like be cool, I'm gonna like, you know, take it down a notch, whatever. Then once I start getting into it, I'm just like, you know.
Yeah, it just takes over.
Yeah.
Do you think that I mean, I wonder if the performance aspect, you kind of have to do it regularly to like maintain that groove and like keep that like tide at bay. Because it's like, in order to be like on your game, you hear about bands like they always have their first shows or the tour kind of iffy. Yeah. Things go wrong, and then they get in their groove, and it's like sometimes they're like, well, let's continue the tour because we're really hitting our stride here.
Yeah, well, totally. And if you're playing out regularly, you're constantly kind of like turning that release valve. So you're kind of like letting the steam out a little more regularly, so that it's not like, oh, here's my one chance to just blah, you know? Yeah. So I think I think that is what's important about playing regularly, and unfortunately no one can right now. So it's like I think you can really like over the weeks of playing out every week, you can kind of like hone the song more. You can kind of be like, oh, maybe I will dial back a little here. Maybe, especially if you're watching back your own performances, you're like, oh, I was like on 10 that entire time. Like maybe I can be a little more dynamic with it. So yeah, I think that's just part of the process.
Yeah, and then there's that other weird thing that's intangible about a live performance, the stage presence, and that thing you can't like practice that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's something that, do you think you like learn it, or is there a certain amount of getting in the zone that you can do on your own?
I definitely like getting in the zone and on my own is definitely a thing. Like I even in like if you notice today, like I at some point just kind of like dipped out and like had to be by myself, and I felt kind of funny because I was like, oh, this is like more of a casual thing. I shouldn't like have to like do my like ritual routine thing pre-show. Like I started was like kind of treating it like,
do you have a pre-show ritual?
Like not a rigid one, but there
Yeah.
is definitely like I definitely take the day to like, I'll like exercise and I'll like the whole day I'm like kind of like almost like meditating or like just focusing and thinking about the show coming up like throughout the day. And I'll like make food and I'll exercise and I'll meditate and I'll do all these different things, but it's kind of like it's like you're preparing for what's to come and like kind of envisioning how it's gonna go and thinking about each song and kind of like what it's like that whole
like running the set in your mind. Like what does that do for you?
It just, I don't know. It's funny because I've heard people talk about like athletes will talk about that, or like different people talk about they're kind of like picturing, themselves like running the play that they know they have to run and like and nailing it and catching the pass or doing whatever, and like that's like helps them like envisioning it going well. And so I think when I run this set, I think about like, oh, what are some cool things that I can do during the set that'll be fun, or like how do I want the song to come across, or I just kind of I always kind of try to convince myself that I'm gonna like have the best show of my life,
Yeah.
So every time I'm like, I know that last show was really good, but this one's gonna be better, and it kind of, I don't know, I've found that it wasn't anything I kind of consciously decided I was gonna do. I just realized like when I can have the day to really like just stay in my zone and get ready, and like I'll start getting ready like super early, so I have plenty of time to like shower and get dressed. And like I've had way too many shows where I've like last minute and you're rushing and you're trying to grab all your shit, you haven't eaten yet, and then you get to the venue, you're trying to scramble to find a place to get some food, but like you have sound check and then you don't have much time because you're supposed to be on. So it's like I've learned to kind of be
you
like,
forgot your chord or something,
right? Exactly.
Some key thing that's so obvious. You're like, how did I forget that?
Yeah, and so I've learned that as often as I can, I try to like clear my schedule for the day and just like have it to myself to kind of just like keep in my own zone, in my own like headspace and zone leading up to the show. Because especially if it's a big show, like it can be like a big deal, and it's like there's a lot of people showing up.
You kind of owe it to the people that are coming.
Right. And so it's like it's almost like I need a day to like transform myself into like what I'm going to like who I'm going to be that night for this,
Do you feel like a different person when you're playing? Like when you perform, is it like a character that you go into?
Not really. I mean, maybe I tend to be a little more like kind of like bombastic. Like I'll be a little more kind of I don't know. I don't want to say like aggressive. I definitely like
animated, or
just like I feel very confident when I'm on stage, and so it's like you feel very in charge and control of the room and everything that's going on. So it's like I don't feel shy when I'm on stage, but I do feel shy sometimes in other times in my life. Not always, but like when I'm on stage, it's like that's like all my shyness goes away completely.
So it sounds more like it's a facet of you that's already there.
Yeah.
That's now getting the proper avenue to then.
It's getting like amplified for sure.
As opposed to like a completely like manufactured character.
Yeah, because like I'm in my normal life, I'm not like, oh, this guy over here, blah, blah, blah. You're not like, you know. So
Why do you think that is? Like, what is it about? You know, because obviously you're not the only one who has a thing like that. Like
yeah,
musicians, performers, like, what is that like that need to like perform and do something different?
I think like, what do you mean, like in general? Just
Yeah, like why
why did it
perform and
why
be
do it?
yeah, or why is there that thought of like you know you're preparing for it and you're gonna be something different for
Right.
that you know for that night for that performance like
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm assuming a lot of artists and stuff like they don't in their day-to-day life get to feel like they're fully expressing themselves, and a lot of times are shy. So like this is an opportunity like to just like be whatever it is that you maybe feel like you are inside or you wish you were, or like, um so I think it's a chance to be the center of attention and have a microphone and everyone's listening to you and looking at you. So it's like, it's really scary at first, but then once you get used to it, you're like, oh, like this is my chance to like speak and say
yeah.
what I want to say and do what I want to do. And I can do like whatever I want, kind of, especially like if you're playing like rock shows at a rock venue. It's like there's very few things that are off limits at that point, you know?
Yeah, that's what I love about rock and roll. It's kind
Yeah.
of like that last stronghold of freedom
Yeah.
and expression to where like kind of all bets are off in a way.
Yeah.
And the more like outrageous, the better
Right.
at times. I mean, depending on how far you want to go.
Yeah. But yeah.
It's like it's necessary in society, I think, to have that like blow off valve where you can freak out for a little while
Yeah.
and then like, okay, I kind of got that out.
Well, it's freedom for you. It's freedom for the people watching, you know? It's like, I think it's fun for people to watch somebody be totally free, you
Yeah.
know? And even like you said, the more outrageous, the better. It's like, oh, like yeah, this person's like not like living by any rules right now. And like sometimes they're even like not abiding by the rules of the venue. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
damn, they're going to be pissed that they just did that. But I
Putting the
love
toe
it.
over the line.
But I love that they just did it. You know, like someone smashing their guitar on the stage. Like they're not going to be happy that you're putting a hole in the stage. But
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's part of the excitement of the fact the person's doing it is like they might get booted after this. I mean, they might not be able to come back to this venue. And they just like risked that to give us a show. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, and like and as we were talking about earlier, like the live music being not a thing right now, like we're losing that
Yeah.
aspect, and it's like as crazy and rebellious rock and rolls can seem, like it's a pretty safe way to explore that kind of frustration and aggression because
Yeah.
like most of the time, like no one really gets hurt or doesn't
Yeah.
like have long lasting ramifications. People can get outraged about something, but it's
Yeah.
like really like of all the things that a person can do, like not that.
It's not hurting anybody. And like usually, I mean, at big concerts, you'll see like fights in the crowd and stuff like that. But like,
You'll see that at bars.
yeah,
You know?
but like I've never like I've been to a
See
lot
that at sporting events.
I've been
and
to
horse
but
races.
I've been to a lot of shows like in the years that I've been in LA, and like I don't know if I can remember seeing any like fights breaking out during any of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think if you're like at a festival and everyone's trashed and there's just so many people or whatever, it's like more like prone to happen. But like when you're at a smaller rock club, everyone's there to see this band or are like friends of the band and stuff. It's like everyone's there to have fun.
Yeah, and like vibe on the energy. and
Yeah.
just putting it across.
Because like when me and my friends all play a show together, it's like it's a big party. It's like everyone in the crowd. It's like all of our friends or friends of friends, and it's like it's you get to throw a party at this venue and everyone's like there to have fun and see you play.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's kind of like the whole rock and roll vibe, I guess. Or I mean, maybe not just specific to rock and roll, but
Yeah.
all sorts of music. It's like a celebration of the present moment, the existence
Yeah.
that like we are here and we're alive and we can make noise and dance around and move and get
Yeah.
silly, and like here's a kind of like a soundtrack to it, and here's the ringleader, here's the person
Yeah.
who is now giving you permission to be weird because they're weirder than anybody else
Yeah.
or going further.
And that's fun too. And I think a lot of artists and performers, they like to kind of push the envelope and they like to dress a certain way. They know they're getting weird looks when they're walking around in public. It's like they're kind of getting off on that a little bit. So like it's kind of just naturally roll into them when they're performing on stage and all of that. It's like it's all kind of part of the same thing. Like
Yeah.
you're enjoying being different.
Right. And any, job or role in society, there's like uniforms that go along with them.
Yeah.
There's certain ways that, people dress, something, requirement, but there's reason why there's a uniform for soldiers or policemen. There's something about it that's conveys a certain level of, authority or intimidation or whatever it is. But then there's another, uniform or I guess it's not really a uniform, but like way of dressing yourself that then signifies like, I'm going to go play music.
Yeah, for sure. Now it's usually not hard for people to figure out that I'm a musician when I'm walking around. They usually guess it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. You're dressing for the job you want, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to like most about when venues open back up and you can play live again? Like, are you looking for? I'm assuming you're looking forward to that. Like,
yeah.
Like, what are you most excited about? The first thing back. I mean,
I just can't wait to have a band around me and be on stage and just like the how much fun that is. And but I also can't wait to see shows. So I'm excited for when like my favorite bands and stuff are able to play concerts. And I can't wait to play and be played to. I mean, I don't know, it's all fun.
Getting back into that whole mix.
Yeah.
Of being part of that energy cycle.
Because it's inspiring to go to shows too. You leave a show and then like you kind of like want to get back and work on your shit.
Oh yeah, when you see something good that just blows the doors
Right.
off, and you're like, like I want to go home and
like
practice right now.
Yeah, you're taking notes.
Yeah, but also it's getting that like electric jolt of like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, whatever it is on stage are like electrifying this whole place, and it's like that's magic.
Yeah. No, I always feel like this is awesome, but like this is making me want to like throw my head in the ring. Like, God, I gotta get.
I want to get up there and do that.
Yeah, totally, 100%. I always get envious of whoever's performing because I want to be doing it.
Yeah. So like overall, like,
or they're making me want to quit because they're too good.
Well, that's always inspiration to do better.
Yeah.
Like, I want to quit, but maybe the answer is to get better.
Yeah.
But like overall, like what do you like want your music to do for people, or hope it does for people, or is it just about the expression thing? Like, is there any overall thing that you would like it to, how to impact people?
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on this the last interview, and I think I've always had a element of like it's obviously there's the aspect of it where it's my own personal expression, which is that feels good for me.
Yeah.
But I think from the beginning, I've always wanted it to be more than that. I've always wanted it to be something that reaches people, that makes them feel like someone maybe understands what they're dealing with. I kind of like, I still do write some songs that are very general, but I was like, oh, I want a song that anyone can relate to. But then I realized, I'm like, you know what? Even the specific songs that are kind of much more personal to you, there might be fewer people who relate, but then they really relate. And so it's like, wow, this person being like, they're being very specific about what they're singing about, but like, man, I really didn't think anyone knew what that was like, Yeah. So it's like almost the more personal you're being, and the more you're kind of bearing your person, like your own soul. It's like it might feel like, oh, I'm writing this song, and it's like this is so specific to my own experience. Like, is anyone gonna relate to this? And then it's like, but the people who relate to that are gonna really feel understood and heard.
Is that harder to do, to write in that way, or is it harder to try to write something like generic and universal?
I think, I don't know. It used to be, I don't know if I would say it's harder. It actually maybe comes a little more naturally to write more specific about yourself. I just used to kind of like shy away from it more because I didn't think anyone would be interested. And now I'm kind of enjoying more so like just writing about like whatever I want to, and not filtering it or trying to shape it or make it be something, you know what I mean? Just kind of like letting it be what it is. And like,
does something change that particularly, or you just have grown into that? Like, what was there any points where you like did that and realized this works or feels better? Like,
I think I just stopped caring more, and so I just started being like, hey, this is what this song is. This is how it came out. This is what it's about. And maybe this is not relatable to anybody, but like I like this song, so that's it.
Yeah. So I guess in that way, it's like overcoming that like doubt about it.
Yeah, and I think I've a lot of other people that I've talked to who have kind of come around to the same thing. It's like it feels like better to like just be like just say what you really want to say and what you're really feeling, what you're really thinking, and not being afraid. And there's something like liberating about that.
Hmm.
And getting to the point of not caring what anyone else thinks and just doing it. You're like, hey, this is a pure expression. I don't care how this comes across, you know?
And I think that's very valuable because like you are going to be the best version of you
Right.
out of anybody else. So it's
Yeah.
like that's a thing that nobody else can do if you're
Mhm.
doing that. So even if it might not be, a planned or contrived thing, but if you're doing it authentically, like no one can imitate that.
Yeah.
And then it's like more your pure expression.
Yeah. Which I think is, I have started to notice when people are doing it, and then I'm like more excited because I'm like, when I see like maybe one of my friends who's like really just letting it fly or just saying, I'm like, oh, like I know their story, and it's so
Yeah.
good to hear them just say that shit, because I know what they were dealing with, and it's like I kind of celebrate hearing them fully express themselves and like get a little more personal, get a little more specific, talk about that relationship or that thing you did, or like I almost even like it when someone like says something embarrassing in a song
Yeah.
where I'm like, oh, like that takes a lot of balls,
Right.
to like say like
To be vulnerable in
yeah,
that way.
to say something like, to talk about a failure or talk about something that other people spend a lot of time trying to cover up about themselves,
Mm,
you know? Um, I like celebrate that even more because it just takes so much courage, you know?
yeah. Putting it all out there.
Yeah.
So what's the next things coming for Jakey Heartbreak? Do you have like songs that you're going to be putting out soon, or anything people can look forward to or be directed to at the moment?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh, you did write the recent song for the Tom Morello contest.
yeah, that
Which
was
is cool. Yeah, that's a good thing to
we can,
maybe
yeah,
talk about
we can
that.
talk about that. I guess to gloss over real quick,
Yeah,
all my
sorry.
music's still, everything I've released so far is on, I have a website, jakeyheartbreak.com, and on Spotify and all in YouTube and all the places where you normally find music. I do have stuff that I'm working on currently that I'm in the middle of recording, stuff that was almost finished, but then we went back and we're redoing some things. Um, so I have like a few things in the works, nothing that's like ready to go or I have like a release date or anything. But I definitely have a lot of stuff that I'm working on that I'm in the process of recording. Um, and one of those, I definitely want to like record that song fully. There was I woke up one morning to an Instagram post of Tom Morello. Basically, he posted this like call to action for all artists and musicians and poets and like whatever. He was like, if you write something, write a song, whatever you want to do, send it to me. He like made a link where there was like a submission form, and he wanted people to write stuff about the death of George Floyd, and he said, this title it, Avenge Floyd. So it, he definitely had a little bit of an idea of what direction he wanted it to go.
Mhm.
Something a little more aggressive, like maybe, or, but yeah, kind of, all of this stuff had kind of just happened, and I was trying to figure out like what the hell can I do, that to contribute to this conversation, to, show support, um, and seeing that kind of gave me the inspiration of like, here's a way that I can do something, anything,
Right.
and so I kind of was like, oh, this could be cool. Like maybe I'll try to write something or whatever. And I kind of was like cooking breakfast, and like a chorus started coming into my head, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna like run out to the studio, to the barn, and start tinkering with this. And it kind of slowly started to turn into a song, and then I was like started demoing it while I was writing it, and then I ended up just over the course of the entire day like writing and then demoing like this entire song. um and I did it all here myself, so it's not like good quality, but it just like I kind of saw it through to completion, which was a big accomplishment.
Captured a moment.
Yeah, it was like a big accomplishment for me to be like, I started the day with nothing and then ended the day with like a fully written song that now I can use to like as a template to go in and really record it right. But it was still just like, you know, I spent probably like 11 or 12 hours in total, just stuck on this thing,
Yeah.
you know, and I thought maybe I would take a couple days to do it or whatever. And then I ended up just like,
Got to ride that wave when it's coming.
all of a sudden I started seeing like the end in sight and I was like, whoa, I'm like, can I finish this today? Like, and I did. And it was a really great feeling to know that I, like,
and can people listen to that? Like, where can people
yeah,
find that?
I posted that. It's on my Instagram page, which is Jakey Heartbreak. I just have like the sound file or whatever, on my page, that you can listen to, like the demo that I made, but I'm hoping to this summer, you know, actually record it for real. And, you know, it's a song I'm proud of. It was a very difficult song to write. There's a lot of weird time signature stuff happening and it was complicated. So it was like, you know, it was hard. It was like, it felt like I was doing, you know, trying to solve a complex math equation. My eyes yeah, I was starting to get a headache. Like my eyes were starting to cross while I was writing it, while I was trying to figure it all out. Cause I've never really done, you know, weird time signature stuff before. So, it was an accomplishment for that reason too. I was like, I didn't know if I could pull it off. And then like when it started working, that felt good. So there was a lot of things with the making of that song. Plus, you know, it contributed to, you know, the support for, you know, George Floyd and that whole situation. So it felt good on many levels to do that song. So I'm excited to record it right and have it just be out there and, you know, part of an album or wherever it ends up being. But
yeah, that's powerful to have that ability and that, you know, gift to be able to turn something so horrific and you know, terrible in society into a, you know, piece of art and a work of art in some way, or a way, an expression maybe other people can relate to it, or it's, if nothing else, it's like carrying on, you know, the legacy or whatever. It's drawing attention to it and putting a sort of like, here, this is an important thing, and, you know, to mark that.
Yeah. Well, and that's it's when these situations happen, it's, you know, it's easy to feel really helpless. And since then, there's been so many things, and what's been incredible about social media during all of this is that people have been really spreading tons of information and ways that people can get involved, and in a way that's never really been done before. So it's, at the time this had just kind of started, and I was like, I don't know what I can do. I don't know if I can do anything to help. I feel helpless. How can I contribute? And then that happened. But then in the days after that, it was like people were sending, you know, here's email addresses that you of you know, people in Congress or your local government that you can email and say these things to, and here's links to websites that are raising money. And so there actually ended up becoming lots of ways to get involved, which was great. But initially, you know, the writing that song felt like I was at least contributing it in some way.
Yeah, it's a piece of it, and it's a way to do it, and you can do it from anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's great. You know, that shows, you know, again, a part of music that's like essential in society. You know, there's that human connection we get from going to shows, from people performing, but then it can also be part of a message and part of, you know, a bigger thing. And yeah, man, that's great stuff, you know, all around. So it's like, seems like, you know, there's a lot of potential positive in the future for when we're coming out of this whole quarantine situation. And it's like, seems like you're kind of really getting ready for that, you know,
totally
reemergence thing.
And I was, you know, driving today, and I was just thinking like, man, like, you know, I have some songs I've recorded already. I have these other ones that I want to record, or I'm in the process of recording. And I was just like I really want to like compile an album and just have, like, I was kind of thinking which songs I wanted to do. And I, you know, I would love to, like, within the next few months, like, record the rest of the songs that I want to do, and then have enough songs to like have an album, and then just like come out of this quarantine like with that.
Yeah.
You know, and then once I go into my shows and stuff, it's like that would be a big accomplishment too. And you know, I have an EP, I have singles, but to have like a cohesive album would be like that would make me very happy.
That's
So,
perfect. I mean,
yeah.
I think that kind of brings us to like, you
Yeah.
know, a good ending point here is like, that's the future. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to put out an album someday soon.
Yeah, I want to. That's kind of what I was feeling very strong about today. I have a lot of resources. I know a lot of different people and producers and things that it's like, I know this is possible if I can, you know, work out the finances of it all or whatever, but it's a goal. And I think I wouldn't need too many more songs to be able to compile an album. And you know, I told you tonight I might potentially be going to Nashville in August for a few months. So it would be amazing to be able to like have that together if I do end up moving to Nashville for a little while, to have an album under my belt that I can promote and, you know, direct people to, put on my website, all of that stuff. So I'm definitely ready to kind of like to really push forward and realize a lot of my like visions and things that I want to see happen. Hopefully around the time that all this stuff is letting up, so it'll be amazing.
Yeah, man.
If I can pull it off, we'll see.
No, that's great, and that's good
Yeah.
to have that goal in the future. I think it's a really good one, especially at this point for you. You know,
Yeah.
having so many years and so much experience behind it, and so many songs. It's like
Yeah.
you definitely got, you know, enough for an album. Like that's awesome.
Totally.
It's good to look forward to.
And I have lots of friends now in different cities and stuff that I can go around and hopefully put together shows, not just in LA now. You know, I want to get back to LA at some point and reconnect with people and play shows, but it's like
You can
play shows
string-
in Nashville, I have a friend in Kentucky, and, you know, have friends up in Boston. So like I would really love to expand and kind of spread out a little more while I'm in this position.
Yeah, man. It seems like the time and place for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I guess that's the news to look forward to. The Jakey Heartbreak
Yeah.
is really good. This is positive stuff. I'm happy you performed here
Yeah.
and like, you know, took the time to talk about this stuff. We kind of covered a lot of aspects of, you know, music and the quarantine in general and current things. And it's
No, I'm so happy to be a part of this, and like the new studio looks amazing. I'm excited for you guys with, you know,
Jesse and Christian. They're here.
Jesse and Christian.
Shout out. Sweating away up here.
Yeah, I know. We've picked like the hottest day of the year.
I know,
year so
it was
far
like
to do
90
this.
when I was getting out of work. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a heater.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone will see all the sweat dropping off of my face while I'm
That's
performing
the
songs.
intensity. Don't lie. It
Yeah.
was frigid before you started.
Yeah.
You warmed this place up with your pure energy of rock and roll power.
No, it was really awesome to be here and to be here during the transition for you guys in the new studio and all the new things you guys have coming up, and the transition, you know, from the quarantine jams into, you know, hopefully having more artists up here and performances, and happy to help further that. And
Yeah, you kicked it off, man.
Yeah.
And now we got to be able to check in with you when you're on the road. So
Yeah.
we got to work out the whole streaming thing, which is coming soon
Totally.
as well.
I'd be happy to. It'd be great to be able to report back to you guys with
Yeah,
all
man.
the other things going on.
We'll deal it or we'll wire it all in and get it together. But
Yeah.
awesome stuff. You know,
Can
thanks. Oh, you can
can
do
I-
it. You want to chime in?
yeah.
All right. I'll let you do
I
it.
get to see you
So
do
you
all
got
that.
to say whatever you're going to say, actually. I'm not going to tell you what to say.
Oh, isn't it join us next time at what's your next stage? What do you usually say?
Say, thanks for listening. We love y'all.
Oh, okay. Thanks for listening. We love y'all.
Bye.